Council Community Development Committee to order. Thank you all for being here. We'll start out our agenda with the Dakota Land, Water, and People Acknowledgement. The Met Council acknowledges that the land we currently call Minnesota, and specifically the 7-county region, is the ancestral homeland of the Dakota Oyate, who are present and active contributors to our thriving region. As part of the Metropolitan Council's commitment to address the unresolved legacy of genocide, dispossession, and settler colonialism, and the fact that government institutions, including the Metropolitan Council, benefited economically, politically, and institutionally after the forcible removal of the Dakota Oyate, the Metropolitan Council is dedicated to instilling land, water, and people commitments in regional policy. These commitments support the Dakota Oyate, the 11 federally recognized tribes in Minnesota, Ho-Chunk Nation, and the American Indian communities, representing over 150 diverse tribal nations that call the 7-county region home. Thank you very much. We'll move on to our agenda, which without dissent will go as approved. And then we have the August 4th, 2025 Community Development Committee minutes here. You've had the opportunity to review them, and is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you for the motion, and a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the Community Development Committee minutes. We'll vote on that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. The minutes are approved. We have an information item on our agenda, which is the Public Housing 2026 Annual Plan. Stephanie Paulson is here to present. Should I call on you first, though, Director Barajas, to introduce this item?
Nope, Steph will do all the introduction. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Stephanie Paulson is here to present, and after this, given the information has been posted for a while, we will open a public hearing for comments. Thank you, Stephanie.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. In years past, I have typically visited the committee 3 times in this time of year. I've come for the public hearing in August, and again in September with an information item and business at the end of September for kind of an October approval, sometime October 15th at the latest. This year, the Metro HRA did not update the plan with any major policy or program changes. As you may know, the Metro HRA is preparing for a potential decrease to our 2026 federal funding budget. In preparation, the Metro HRA updated existing language in the event that the 2026 funding will not support our current program size, and we may be forced to terminate families from the program. We will certainly do everything we can to avoid terminating any households from the program, and will be engaging you along the way in this topic. This policy exists in our current administrative plan. So the policy that I'm talking about already exists. The only change that we did was we updated the language to exclude 3 household types. And this language is consistent with industry practice across the state. Households that qualify for special purpose vouchers in order to be eligible, for example, VASH or mainstream vouchers for people with prior experience in homelessness, disabled households, or elderly households. In the coming weeks, program staff will return to the committee to have conversations about payment standards, utility allowances, and the state rental assistance program, Bring It Home. Included in each of these presentations, you can expect additional conversation around budget planning and program impacts. The Metro HRA's administrative plan and PHA plan can be found at metrohra.org. And as always, you can feel free to reach out to program staff if you have any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for the overview of the changes. I do have a council member who would like a question.
Yes.
Councilmember Chambliss.
Thank you, Chair Carter. I wanted just to clarify by voice mention that the source of federal funds that you are referring to that have been reduced is from HUD, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Chair and Councilmember Chambliss, that is correct. To the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
I know it's in our info item, but I just wanted it to be stated. Thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there other questions or discussion items? It appears as though we are clear, and thank you very, very much for the update, Stephanie. Again, given the information has been online, posted, announced and posted, we are now prepared for a public hearing in case there are any comments. And so we will open the public hearing. I guess you do this to open the public hearing. So the public hearing is now open. The public hearing is on the Public Housing Agency, PHA, Annual Plan for 2026. Is there anyone here, or I should ask if there's anyone signed up in advance?
I am not aware of anybody signing up.
All right. So I'll ask 3 times. Is there anyone here who wishes to be heard? Second time. Is there anyone here who wishes to be heard? And I think we've allowed for that. Third time, anyone here who wishes to be heard? And if there's no one to be heard on this item, then the public hearing is now closed. Thank you very much. Is there more that we should say about the opportunity to, thank you. So I have a whole script here that I just entirely
We
ignored.
can get you to the,
Thank you.
and then to here.
Okay. Public comments, thank you. Public comments beyond this time may be received or must be received by 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, September 2nd. And as a reminder to comment on the 2026 Public Housing Agency Annual Plan, members of the public who are listening may still provide public comment in the following ways. Write to the council at 390 Robert Street North, St. Paul, Minnesota 55101. By fax to 651-602-1313. Email the council at stephanie.paulson@met.state.mn.us or record a comment on the public comment line at 651-602-1500, TTY 651-291-0904. At the close of the public comment process, staff will prepare a summary of public comments. The Metropolitan Council will have an opportunity to review those comments prior to Met Council action on the PHA plan. All right, thank you very, very much. Our public hearing is closed. We appreciate your update, Stephanie. And we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is our consent agenda. There are 2 items on the consent agenda, 2025195, which is the West Mississippi River Regional Trail Park Acquisition Opportunity Fund Award, and a second item, 2025196, also West Mississippi River Regional Trail Park Acquisition Opportunity Fund Award. Is there a motion?
Move
on the
approval.
consent? Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. There is motion by Councilmember Chambliss, I believe.
Wolf.
I'm sorry, by Councilmember Welf. It's hard to see. And a second by Councilmember Obasaka. Are there any comments or questions to be aired? All right. Thank you. Then we'll take a vote on the consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. The consent agenda has passed. And we have one non-consent business item. It's 2025194, JT, the 2025 budget amendment, 3rd quarter, and Heather Giesel is here to share information on this item.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Heather Giesel. I'm the Director of Finance and Administration for Community Development. As you all know, budget amendments are a routine part of our process for annual budgeting, and we come to you approximately quarterly as we need to adjust our operating and capital budgets. Tonight, we are requesting to amend both Community Development's operating and capital programs. First, in the authorized new projects section, we are requesting to authorize the state fiscal year 2026 legacy appropriations. The total this year is $24.3 million. Of that, $21.8 million will be distributed out to the parks implementing agencies using the formula set in statute. And then $2.3 million will be set aside for acquisition. Just as a note, those acquisition projects are matched on a 3-to-2 basis. So there is $1.6 million in addition in council funds in the CIP. There's also a one-time general fund appropriation from the most recent legislative session for $1.9 million for the Community Trees Program. That will be awarded competitively, similarly to the appropriation that was established last year as well. Second, in the administrative adjustments section, so project details for the administrative adjustments can be found in attachment 3 and represent projects where the funding has already been approved and is now being programmed to a specific project. Just as a quick reminder, there's no formal action to take on these specific administrative adjustments, but we've included them for transparency and accounting purposes. There was one acquisition project within these administrative adjustments for the Grand Rounds Missing Link Regional Trail, the wall acquisition. This was approved by the council through a separate official action at the recommendation of the Metropolitan Parks and Open Space Commission. Also within the administrative adjustments are a number of community tree planting grants, as I mentioned, that were funded through a prior legislative session. The other projects that you see in this section have been reviewed for conformity with the Regional Parks Policy Plan. In the closing project section, there were quite a few. There were 63 completed projects that are being removed from the Parks Authorized Capital Program. So $33.4 million will be removed from the ACP CIP. They have been fully expended. It also closes one project and removes approximately $242,000 from the HRA capital program. Moving over to the operating side, in community development, there was $225,000 to the local planning assistance pass-through account. You may recall in the last budget amendment, we transferred $500,000. This is another $225,000 that will be used towards those 2026 planning grants that are in the works. There's no impact to the use of reserves. We are just repurposing unprogrammed expenses. For HRA, on the operating side, it increases the federal housing choice voucher pass-through subsidy expenses by $5 million to account for increased monthly rental and utility costs. You may recall that Terry came to CDC a couple of weeks ago to discuss that shortfall that we're experiencing, and was also mentioned during the Q2 management report at Management Committee last week. So our proposed action is that you authorize the 2025 Unified Budget Amendment as indicated and in accordance with the attached tables. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. It is really good to have the reports to show us where the funds have been used and where they have been re-entered into our budgets. I have a question and.
Oh, no, I don't, sorry. Stretch it, sorry.
So I just wanted to say thank you very much for the
Of course.
clarity and transparency. Did you have a question? Were there any questions from council members? If not, are we voting on this today to pass through to? Okay, and the council will also vote on the adjustments. All right, so if there are no questions or further discussion, I'll pause to make certain of that. Then we're ready for a motion on this amendment.
I'll make a motion to approve this amendment.
Thank you. So the motion was by Councilmember Chambliss and the second, Councilmember Lee. Thank you. Motion second. Is there any further discussion? I think not. I asked that already. Is there any further discussion or question? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Thank you. The
Thank you.
amendment has passed. Appreciation. And we have one item, one information item on our agenda, and that is a Livable Communities Act program update and alignment with Imagine 2050. Emily Seddon and Hannah Gary. Is it Seddon or Sedan?
Seddon, you got it right. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us back to talk about the LCA program update, and we are very excited to present our 90% draft to you today.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
I would love to introduce myself. Thank you. My name is Hannah. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a planning analyst with the Livable Communities team and community development.
And I'm Emily Sutton, the manager for the Livable Communities Act program here at the council. So thank you for having us back again. I think this is one of many updates we have brought to you and are really exciting to be kind of approaching the milestone of bringing you a complete draft, hopefully next month. As we've talked about before with this program update, this has been a multi-year process of engagement with our grantees, potential grantees, developers in the community to really understand their experience with the program and whether or not the Livable Communities Act programs are meeting the regional goals that we have hoped they will. So zooming in a little bit to our process this year, we have been very intense into our stakeholder input and community engagement work in the first half of the year. And this spring and summer really been working to develop and finalize a program design that is in alignment with Imagine 2050, but also achieving some other goals around simplifying the process and responding to some of that feedback we heard. So that's where we are here now in August. In the next month, we hope to bring you that 100% draft for you to vote on so that our staff can begin that outreach and engagement process to prepare for 2026 grants. And then in line with our typical cycle, we will bring you a funding recommendation in early 2026.
So as we shared in our last presentation, this understanding of livability is from conversations that we held with city staff and developers from different parts of the region. And these themes that came out aligned well with a lot of what is in Imagine 2050. So the themes that we found directly connected to our region is equitable and inclusive, our communities are healthy and safe, and our region is dynamic and resilient. And Emily mentioned that we've been doing a lot of community engagement over the past few months. So far, we have talked with 45 people. All 16 council districts have been represented, and we received over 70 responses to a survey that we sent out a few weeks ago. And we are continuing to have more in-depth conversation with anyone who reaches out with questions or concerns.
So the key themes throughout this program design process have remained fairly consistent. Our primary goal is to align the program with Imagine 2050. Imagine 2050 is the logical continuation of Thrive MSP 2040, so you're not going to see huge programmatic shifts in the Livable Communities Act goals. We're also trying to focus more on outcomes and less on acronyms. The statute that establishes the Livable Communities Act program is very full of detail and ways that we have to administer the program. And we're doing everything we can to bring that complicatedness in-house for our staff to figure out and making it as simple as possible through a single application point for most of our funding to go through to simplify the process for applicants. We also really wanted to make sure with this program update that every community knows that they're part of a livable region. So a lot of the feedback that we had received on the previous iterations of the program was that suburban projects were not as competitive for funding, that small projects were not as competitive for funding, or a misperception that you had to be along transit to qualify for these projects. And so as part of this update, we're making sure that those suburban projects and those small projects will be competitive for funding. Some of the things that you have in the novel of a packet that we shared with you for today's meeting are more along the technical lines of kind of operations for the program, but we wanted to share with you as promised. And some of that is around the geographic guidance that the council has given over the years for this program. We're going to recommend right, in the spirit of every community is part of a livable region, that the council maintain that guidance. So the guidance is dependent on the funding source. So this is one of those details that we're going to kind of keep in the background and not make the applicants worry too much about. But for funding from the Livable Communities Demonstration Account, or LCDA, we would maintain the council's guidance that if the fund is oversubscribed and if there are enough eligible applications, 60% of that funding would go to cities in the suburbs, and 40% would be reserved for the cities in Minneapolis and St. Paul. And then for funds that are coming from the tax-based revitalization account, TBRA, that definition is in statute. So if it is oversubscribed and there are enough applications, 75%, no more than 75% of those funds would go to Minneapolis and St. Paul. And that's because this is an environmental cleaning is happening in those core cities. The other pieces that are in your packet that are more technical around the application is a reapplication policy that would be new for us. And this, again, is really in an effort to make sure that every community is competitive. So we know that projects need funding along different parts of their, at different points in their project. And so there may be very good reasons that the project is coming back to the Met Council seeking additional funds. We want to maintain projects' ability to do that. But we also want to put some broad bounds around it to make sure that